Hello. YouTube, for whatever reason, saying like, hey, you enjoy RTS games. Would you like to see documentaries about Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander and the future RTS games? I'm like, of course I would. I miss playing RTS games. Disappointed with Home 3. Very disappointed with Home 3. Damn, sip of tea. So yeah, I was looking in my library and I found I already had this game, so I thought, why not play it? Now, I'm going to say this. My first impressions, based on the user interface visible here, it's a bit messy. I don't really like it. I mean, can I show you what like the interface on, say, on Total Annihilation looks like? No, I can't. I can't be bothered. Anyway, let's go single player, and I'm not going to do. I'm going to do a skirmish, a one-on-one, next, and I'm going to go novice on this because modern AIs tend to kick my ass hard and make things not fun. Oh, okay. So we got various map styles. Well, I'll go with this one. Go with the desert, and. I don't know what the factions are, I don't know what the units are. But it's a Total Annihilation style RTS. You get metal, you get energy, you build factories to build units.
Command console activated.
Right, I love that. I don't know what these mean. So W, so if I go X, okay, that makes, and Q is metal extractor, right? And then can I pause?
Paused.
So if I do that, I really don't like this music. Wind generator, yeah. I'll put in like one of those. Now, if it's anything like TA, some maps are good for wind, some maps are not. Let's have a look what else I've got. Soda collector. And then I'll have a factory, B for factory. Excuse me, just a second.
Warzone active. Warzone paused.
Audio. Your volume, music, yeah, let's just do that there. And then, what about the user interface file? Yeah, because I don't like the... So you know what? Great. You've gone to a lot of effort. You've done something, and for that reason, I applaud you. You know, this is very much like Total Annihilation. You've got a wireframe structure that builds into a thing, and ETA 2 seconds. All right. So now there's this hovering thing, and I see we're going for cell shading. So we got like defined borders and. So if I click on this, it should tell me what energy is producing as +2. That doesn't sound very good to me, and that's producing 1. So if we look here, 11 and 8. Alright, I guess energy's not the same as in construction bot, yeah. Just have some all of this. I don't know what these things do. X, Q, metal, X, S. Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. Alright, there we go. Yeah, Total Annihilation, great game. Right, that's me refreshed. So can I use multiple units to build something? Let's try it. Let's go. Let's have a light laser tower. I know typically missile towers tend to be better. Yep, we got some enemies there. Hurry up and build it. Come on. Come on. Oh, good. The LLT is continuous beam. I like that. You're going to be group 2, sorry. And I want you to repair him. And you repair him. Can I set these guys on patrol? Patrol's there. Commander's busy doing his thing. Let's have a look special. We should have a radar tower. Yep, got a radar tower. There we go. Now how do I do? Repair is R. So let's do that. Right, now you, I want you to go here, and then, can I do patrol? No, I can only set rally points, I can't do patrol. That's something I like in Supreme Commander, you can immediately set a patrol route from your factory. And we have insufficient metal. Okay. Probably because we're building these defense facilities, so if I go Econ, Q... Let's build some metal. Oh, that's good. It seems to like snap build, so it doesn't matter too much if I get that wrong. Right. I see there's an enemy there, so just move you there. I don't know what these units are or what they're doing, so... Alright. Where's my commander? Control C? Yeah, there's my commander. And can I do small defense? Yeah, so let's have... I like static defense. I know some people say, oh, we're far better off just building units, but... Cool. Do these upgrade, or do you have to build something on top of it? I've got 0 idle constructors, okay. As for Fallout, I would recommend 1, 2. I do like Fallout Tactics, although it is a bit different. And then New Vegas. 3, 4 and 76 are pants. I try to get into 4, but I find the story and the setting terrible. It's just horrible. Really don't like it. Don't like it at all. The other thing as well, like, someone made a very good point. They're saying it's 200 years after the bombs fell. In New Vegas, you see people building stuff using Adobe. Well, you see that especially in Fallout 2. That's like 70 years after the war.
Warzone paused.
But in 4, where it's like 200 years after the war, people are still building lean-to structures of bits of rotting wood and rusty metal, and it's just like, what are you guys? What are you doing? Oh, you can build a fusion reactor even at level 2. Energy pylon extends overdrive grid. I don't know anything about that. Store metal, yeah. So I'll have one of those. And then we got no. I want an energy construction assistant. Oh, yeah, okay. That was a staple third-party unit in TA. Is you got this? And the full thing air pad, yeah, as well. Right. If this is what I think it is, it's a stationary construction tower. And this was a mainstay in Total Annihilation. But actually, when I looked at the unit itself, because I used to do a bit of modding back in it, the modding in TA was actually very accessible. All you needed was Notepad and all the things are done. So I'd look at a construction tower going, that's really cool. I've never seen a building be able to like assist build another building. It's like, well, the way they got around it, it's not actually a building. It's a unit, but it's got 0 in its movement stats. So it's stationary. And the advantage of that is you can't tell a building to patrol or guard, but you can tell a unit to patrol and guard. So this construction tower is essentially an immobile unit which you can give patrol orders to, and when you give it a patrol order, anything in its range that needs repairing, it'll repair. Anything that needs building, it'll assist with building. The only thing it couldn't do is reclaim, because for whatever reason it was hard-coded into the game that the repair radius was shorter than your construction radius. So I don't know if Spring, because this engine is called Total Annihilation Spring, or just the Spring RTS engine, I don't know if that's changed it. You know what? Spring originally started off as a third-party, open-source, let's make Total Annihilation in a modern game engine, which is better suited for stuff, and I would really like to see whether there's like an original vanilla TA in the Spring engine, and then I could replay the campaign but using that, and hopefully there's something similar to Uberhack, because Uberhack was like, it was vanilla Total Annihilation but with a few modifications which just made everything work a lot better. Like you had you could tell the factories to be at a certain orientation, whereas in TA they only come up one orientation. So anyway, once you're done building that, I'm going to have, let's see, shield bots, rovers, hovercraft, gunships, airplanes, spiders, jump bots, tanks, amphibot, shipyard, striders. Well, I'm going to go with airplanes, not knowing any better, so I'll do that. And we'll just
Warzone active.
we'll do that to start off with. Until I figure out stuff, we'll just right, got me. So I got a riot bot and a skirmisher bot. I don't know what those do or what their strengths and weaknesses are, so I'm just building random things. Because my strategy in TA was just build 5 of everything, and then you've got room, build more 5s of everything. And I'm pleased to see holding shift click still builds 5 of everything. Left right click, add to subtract from queue, hold left mouse, drag a different position in queue. Oh, I see. Don't need the introduction. I mean, I probably should play the campaign to like learn more about the game, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, we're low on energy, so I better go ahead and fix that. So, what if I build? I'm not sure why, but this reminds me of like a low-budget made-for-TV movie about the Bible. And then Jonah went to the hill, and there it said, "O Lord, you have commanded me to go to the hill. Verily, I did go to the hill. Praise be to the Lord." And God saw that Jonah had done as he'd asked, and said, "Yea, Jonah, you have done as I ask. Blessings be unto you and to your family, for now and for evermore." And then Jonah returned to Gethsemane, because that's a place in the Bible, Gethsemane. I don't know much about Gethsemane, but Gethsemane is mentioned in there. And he lived for 65 years after then. And he begat Jacob, who begat Isaac, who begat David, who begat Zebedee, who begat Zebulon, who begat Nebulon, who begat other names we don't use from the Bible. But let's go back to Paul and David and Mark, Matthew. We use those names. What's going on? Oh, there was a fight there? There was a fight there. You know what? I think it would be good if I went factory, rovers. I'm going to say they'll produce light construction. And why have you not built more metal extractors? What's up with that? Why haven't you... I mean, I need them. You should build them. But anyway, I'm going to tell you to patrol once you're done with that, because you can just go on repair duty. In fact, you know what? Just a second. Let's have let's have the Book of Maccabees. There we go.
The first book of the Maccabees. Chapter 1.
You see what I mean?
And it happened after that Alexander,
It's the
son
same sort of
Philip
music.
Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes,
Here we
that
go.
he reigned in his stead. The first
Book of
Greece,
Maccabees.
and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went
Well, I'm
through
good
to
on
the ends of
energy,
the earth,
and I'm
and
getting
took
good on
spoils
metal.
of many nations, insomuch that the earth
And yeah, this
was
is a,
white before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted
Build a
up.
oh, you can do
And he
terraforming
gathered
in this.
a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honourable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them. While
Cool,
he was yet
terraforming. Oh, I've got to try this.
So
This is
Alexander
exciting.
reigned 12 years, and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome.
And hostage.
And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people
Hey, look at
were
that.
so forward herein
Terraforming.
that they went to the king, who gave
Yeah,
them
I can make
license
choke
to do
points.
after the
Oh,
ordinances.
that's better than any wall,
the
I can
heathen.
tell you now.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and
Ooh.
joined themselves
How
to
do you
the
make
heathen,
yourself
and were
uncircumcised?
sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and took the spoil.
Oh, the chainsaw. Now, this is
And
something I
after that
remember back
Antiochus
from
had settled
Toto.
Egypt,
This
he
was like
returned
one of the
again
most
in the 143rd
popular
year,
third-party
and went
units.
up
It's a
against Israel and
rapid-fire
Jerusalem
missile
with a
turret.
great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessel.
Right, okay, so uncircumcision, if I remember correctly, when Alexander conquered the Middle East and his successor kingdoms like the Seleucids, which is what we're listening about now. Anyway, the Jews were second-class citizens then, so public baths, which Greeks and the Romans used, that's where you do business. And if you're circumcised, it would be kind of like, oh yeah, well, we're not going to do business with you because you're barbarians that, mutilate you young. So what they do is they gather up what skin they had, and tie a weight to it, and apparently eventually this like gives you a false foreskin. It doesn't do the job that a real foreskin does, and you've permanently lost the sensitivity. But yeah, that way you could pretend you were a Greek or a Roman.
Vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre,
Disco rave
and
party.
spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel,
Okay.
in every place where they were, so
Who
that the
keeps
princes and
messaging?
elders mourned. The virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land
Enoch,
also
Seth, and
was
Adam
moved
from
for the
the
inhabitants thereof, and
Anglo-Saxon
all
Chronicle.
the house of
Okay.
Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto
Look at
Jerusalem
this
with
water's
a great
flowing in as
multitude,
well.
and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence,
Now there's
he
the
fell
enemy.
suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they
Ooh.
had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem,
I like this.
they laid it up. And so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness, her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings, and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars, groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
You'd think so, wouldn't
And
you?
whosoever would not do
You'd
according
think
to
so.
the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Then many of the
You
people
can
gathered
set
unto
patrol
him,
orders
to wit,
from the
everyone that forsook
from the
Lord.
aircraft factory.
And so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now, the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar.
Yeah, the colours
and
are a
builded
bit
idol
cartoony, but
altars
I don't
throughout the
mind
cities
it.
of Judah
It makes
on every
things
side,
quite
and burnt
visible.
incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found,
Anyway.
they burnt them with fire.
You've done
And
enough of
whosoever
that,
was
so
found with any of the book of the Testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now, the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit,
I mean, so
many
far I
in
don't see
Israel
anything
were fully
wrong.
resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore, the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel. Chapter 2. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, priest of the sons of Jorah, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Gilead. And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Caddis, Simon, called Thassi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Avaram, and Jonathan, whose surname was Abbas. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of the people and of the holy city, and to dwell with them, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers? Her temple has become as a land without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation hath not had a part in and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away.
I'm kind of
Of a
interested in
free
the story,
woman,
so if
she
I
has become a
go...
bondslave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and
Need
his
more
sons
metal.
rent their clothes, and put on sackcloth, and mourned
Yeah, it's
very
Maccabees.
sore.
It's
In
in
the
the
meanwhile,
Douay
the
Rheims
king's
Bible,
officers,
but it's
such
not
as
in the
compelled
Protestant
the people to
Bibles,
revolt,
because for
came
whatever reason they
to the
thought,
city of Modin
oh, you
to
don't
make
need to know about the
sacrifice.
Greek occupation
And
of
when many of
Judea.
Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise,
Do I have
Thou art a ruler,
metal
and an
makers,
honorable and great man in this city,
geothermal,
and
fusion,
strengthen the sons
singularity,
and brethren.
storage,
Now, therefore,
energy,
come thou first, and
caretaker.
fulfill the king's commandment,
That's what
like
I
as
need.
all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold, and many rewards. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments? Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left, speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin.
That's what's taking up all of my
which thing,
metal.
when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas did unto Zambri, the son of Salome. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law, and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled into the mountains, and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. Now when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into
they got Antier there.
Wilderness, they pursued after them with a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, Let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth, and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, We will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, Let us die in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them. Their wives,
I've got some
children,
geothermal.
and cattle.
Not that my construction
number
aircraft are going to get
1,000
there.
people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof,
That's anti-air
they
only.
mourned for them
Okay.
right sore. And one of them said to another, If we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time therefore they decreed, saying, Whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians.
God, it's
who were
raining
mighty men
again.
of Israel, even all such as were voluntary devoted unto the law. Also all that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
Now, how do I
Then
restore...
Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars, and what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. They pursued also
You
after the
valiantly
proud men,
circumcise?
and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles, and out of the hand of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph.
You're going to repair
Now,
it? No,
when
you're
the
just going to
time
reclaim the
drew near
wreck.
that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, Now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be
Well, at least they're
zealous
smart.
for
They
the
seem to
Lord, and
understand
give your
you
lives
deal with the
to
metal,
covenant of your fathers.
the
Call
economy.
to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall he receive great honor and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment, and was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, in being zealous and fervent,
I'm producing
obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood.
and that's how much I'm consuming. That's how
Jesus,
much I'm
for fulfilling
producing.
the word, was made a judge in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation,
Oh, wish I
received
could have
the
paused it
heritage
there.
of the land.
So was this Jesus they
David,
referred to in
for being
Maccabees? Because
merciful,
this is about
possessed
200
the throne of an
BC.
everlasting kingdom. Elias, for being zealous and fervent for the Lord, was taken up to heaven. Ananias, Azarias,
Now,
and
Frith,
Mishael,
everybody
by
knows
believing,
that they
were saved out
take
of
the
the flame.
foreskins and sacrifice it to
For his
Molech.
innocency was delivered from the mouth of lions. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. Today he shall be lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant, and show yourselves men in the behalf of the Lord, for by it shall ye obtain glory. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him alway. He shall be a father unto you. As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong even from his youth up. Let him be
So
your
another
captain,
few seconds and
fight
this
the
geothermal
battle
should
of
be
the
up.
people.
So I'm producing
Take also
109
unto
now.
you all those
Now
that
I'm producing
observe the law,
139.
and avenge ye the wrong of your people. Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law.
Pressing
So
T
he
doesn't
blessed them,
trace or
and was
trail.
gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin. And all Israel made great lamentation for him. Chapter 3. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his
You
father.
can drag a line or a
And they
close
fought
shape.
with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. So he gat his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. In his
I need
axe
some
he was
plasma
like a lion,
turrets, some,
like a lion's whelp,
I need something
roaring
which
for
is
his prey.
medium
For he pursued
range.
the wicked, and sought them out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his axe, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel.
EMP,
So
Gore,
that he was
Stinger,
renowned unto the utmost part of the
anti-air,
earth, and received
Ardent
unto him
anti-air,
such as
flat,
were ready to perish.
long range anti-air,
Then Apollonius
very long
gathered
range
the
anti-air,
Gentiles together, and a great host
gravity
out of
turret.
Samaria to fight against Israel. Which thing?
Is there something which
Judas
shows
perceived,
like
he went forth to meet him,
something that
and so
shows
he smote him,
range?
and slew him. Many also fell down slain,
Medium
but the
range
rest
defense
fled.
fortress.
Wherefore
by
Judas
connecting
took
it
their
to a
spoils,
energy grid.
and Apollonius' sword also, wherewith he fought all his life long. Now, when Seren, a prince of the army of Syria, heard
So
say
these-
that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war, he said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom. For I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despise the king's commandment. So he made him ready to go up. And there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel. And when he came near to the going up of Bethoron, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company, who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? Unto whom Judas answered, It is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the God of heaven it is all one, to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven. They that come up against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and our children and to spoil
Oh, a
us.
shield. All right, let's
But
try
we
that.
fight for our lives and our laws. Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Now, as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon them. And so Seron and his host were overthrown before him, and they pursued them from the going down of Bethoron unto the plain, where were slain about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread to fall upon the nations round about them, insomuch as his fame...
I'm not producing enough energy, but as you can see, I'm really not producing enough metal.
Judas. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay.
So
for
there's
a
one
year,
metal
commanding
extractor.
them to be ready whensoever they
Produces
should need
metal.
Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes in the country were small because of the dissension and plague which he had brought
Another
upon the
factory,
land
shield
in
bot,
taking away the
rover,
laws
hovercraft,
which had been
gunship,
of old time,
airplane,
he feared
spider.
that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so
Amphibious boats,
liberally as he
shipyards.
did before.
Construction
For he had
shinders.
abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money. So he left Lysias, a nobleman and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus until he came again. Moreover, he delivered unto him the half of his forces and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done, as also concerning them that dwelt in Judah and Jerusalem.
What was that then? Some
With
sort
that he
of
should send an army
long-range
against them
missile?
to destroy and root out the strength of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place, and that he should place strangers in all their quarters and divide their land by lot. So the king took the half of the forces that remained and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year. And having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friends, and with them he sent 40,000 footmen and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judah.
So there's no
and to
metal
destroy
makers and there's no moho
as the
miners.
king commanded. So they went forth with all their power, and came and pitched by Emmaus in the plain country. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much, with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. Now when Judas and his brethren saw that the miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did
Let's see what that
encamp
does.
themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people and utterly abolish them, they said one to another, Let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness, There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down. Aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Mazpha over against Jerusalem. For in Mazpha was the
Don't think
place
that's
where they
enough,
fell
so,
aforetime in Israel. Then they fasted on that day, and put on sackcloth, and cast ashes upon their heads, and rent their clothes, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. They brought also the priest's garments, and the firstfruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, What shall we do with these? And whither shall we carry them away? For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness and brought low. And lo, the heathen are assembled together against
He's
us
reclaiming
to destroy us.
stuff.
What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. How shall we be able to stand against them? Except thou, O God, be our help. Then sounded they with trumpets, and cried with a loud voice.
Now, you're not going to win against
And
him.
after
I wish you'd
this,
just recall yourself.
Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over 50s, and over 10s. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his own house, according to the law. So the camp removed and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, Arm yourselves,
all right.
and be valiant
You got a spear.
men, and
Nice.
see that he be in readiness against the morning, that he may fight with these nations that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, so let him do. Chapter 4. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen, and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end that he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him.
That's a
that he
high
might
energy laser
smite the
turret, and
king's
that
army
takes
that
time
was
to
at
warm
Emmaus,
up
while
or
as yet the forces
recharge.
were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains, for said he, These fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had
That
neither
sword sound
armor
effect
nor
is so much
swords
louder
nor
than the
arms.
rest of it.
And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes, and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazara, and into the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamnia, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them. And he said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us, and Gorgias and his host are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them. And after this ye may boldly take the spoils. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there answered a part of them, looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight, and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid. And seeing also the host of Judas in the plain, ready to fight, they fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches.
Tyrian
After this they went
purple.
home and
Cool.
sung a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following, Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot, and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. So they came to Idumea, and pitched their tents at Bethsura. And Judas met them with 10,000 men.
Click and
And
drag
when
for an
Saul
area
mighty
reclaim.
He prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Saviour of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor-bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise
That seems
thee
to be a
with
pretty good
thanksgiving.
unit.
So they joined battle, and there was slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000
Oh,
men,
this looks like
even
it's...
before them.
Oh,
were
it's
they
not a
slain.
storm, is it? Bloody
Now
hell.
when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia, and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the
I'm
sanctuary.
experiencing discomfort.
Upon this, all the host assembled themselves together, and went up into Mount Sion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priests' chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the
Yeah, they
ground
like
upon their
casting
faces,
ashes upon their
and
heads.
blew
That
the
seems to be a
alarm
common
with
thing.
trumpets, and cried toward heaven.
Oh,
Then
oh.
Judas appointed certain men to fight against those
Stop
that were
that.
in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, and such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when, as they had consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they
God.
took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made
Come
up
back.
the sanctuary, and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. idols. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned
building
incense,
some precision
and the
bombers.
lamps which were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make.
Build more
Now
power
in the
plants to
5th
prevent an
and
energy
20th day
storm.
of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that it was dedicated with songs and citherns and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshipping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praised. They decked
Okay.
also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness.
Well, at least I'm doing
among
all
the
right for
people,
metal,
for that the reproach
but I'm going to need
of the
more
heathen
energy.
was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
What's the month Keslu?
At that time also they builded up the Mount Sion with high walls and strong
Why say
towers
builded?
round about,
Why not say
lest the
built?
Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Chapter 5. Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built, and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much. Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them. And thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people.
Right, let's build some fusion
Then Judas
reactors.
fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatine, because they
Large
besieged
power
Gaea.
plant hazardous.
And he gave them a great overthrow, and abated their courage, and took their spoils.
So it'll
Also
blow
he
up if
remembered
it blows
the
up.
injury of the children of Balaam, who had been a snare and an offense unto the people, in that they lay in wait for them in the ways. He shut them up therefore in the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly, and burned the towers of that place with fire, and all that were therein. Afterward he passed over to the children of Ammon, where he found a mighty power and much people, with Timotheus their
Okay,
captain.
I don't know why you
So
hate
he
that
fought
spot,
many
but you do.
battles with them, till at length they were discomfited before him, and he smote them. And when he had taken Jazer with the towns belonging thereto, he returned into Judea. Then the heathen that were at Galiad assembled themselves together against the
heathen of
Israelites
Galahad?
that were in their quarters to destroy them.
That's an interesting name.
But they fled to the fortress of Dathema, and sent letters unto Judas and his brethren. The heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to
No,
destroy
can't
us,
reclaim that
and
stuff.
they're preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled, Timotheus being captain of their host. Come now therefore, and deliver us from their hands, for many of us are slain. Yea, all our brethren that were in the places of Tobi are put to death. Their
In the places
wives
of
and their
Tobi?
children also they have carried away captives, and borne away their stuff, and they have destroyed there about 1,000 men. While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came other messengers from Galilee
Cool.
with their clothes rent, who reported on this wise, and said, They of Ptolemais and of Tyrus and Sidon,
Kaboom!
and all Galilee of the Gentiles, are assembled together against us to consume us. Now when Judas and the people heard these words, there assembled a great congregation together to consult what they should do for their brethren that were in trouble and assaulted of them. Then said Judas unto Simon his brother, Choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren that are in Galilee.
Come on, hurry up and build
For
this.
I and Jonathan my
It's
brother
most of the
will
way
go
done now.
into the country of Gilead. So he left
Gilead.
Joseph, the son of Zacharias, and Azarias, captains of the people, with the remnant of the host in Judea to keep it. Unto whom he gave commandment, saying, Take ye the charge of this people, and see that he make not war against the heathen until the time will come again. Now unto Simon were given 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and unto Judas 8,000 men for the country of Gilead. Then went Simon into Galilee, where he fought many battles with the heathen, so that the heathen were discomfited by him. And he pursued them unto the gate of Ptolemais. And there were slain of the heathen about 3,000 men, whose spoils he took. And those that were in Galilee and Arbatis, with their wives and their children, and all they had, took he away with them, and brought them into Judea with great joy. Judas Maccabeus also and his brother Jonathan went over Jordan, and traveled 3 days' journey into the wilderness, where they
Good. Construction tower's doing what it's doing.
came unto them in a peaceable manner, and told them
Keeping
everything that
turrets
happened
repaired.
to their brethren in the land of Gilead, and how
I like how the laser turret leaves a glow of energy in its wake.
Casphor, Maked, and Karnaim, all these cities are strong and great, and that they were shut up in the rest of the cities of the country of Gilead, and that against tomorrow
and they got
had
veterancy
appointed
as
to bring
well.
their hosts against the
Cool.
forts, and to take them, and to destroy them all in one day. Hereupon Judas and his host turned suddenly by the way of the wilderness unto Bethsora, and when he had won the city, he slew all the
So
males
that should
with the
soon
edge
be
of the
built,
sword,
and that's my
and took all
energy
their spoils,
dealt with for the moment.
and burned the city with fire, from whence he removed by night.
Good,
and
that's
went
doing
and
fine.
came
And now
to the
we got
fortress.
fusion reactors
And
here,
betimes in
and they're
the morning they
producing
looked up,
35
and behold,
energy,
there was an innumerable
whereas this is
people
producing
bearing ladders
25.
and
Okay,
other
and if I
engines of war to
look
take
at
the
these, they're
fortress, for
producing
they assaulted them.
1.8.
When Judas therefore saw
And
that
those
the
are
battle was
producing
begun,
2.
and that
Alright.
the cry of the city went up to
Okay,
heaven
so
with
economy's
trumpets and a great
not the
sound,
same scale
he
as
said
in
unto his
Total
host,
Annihilation.
Fight this day for your brethren. So he went forth behind them in 3 companies, who sounded their trumpets, and cried with prayer. Then the host of Timotheus, knowing that it was Maccabeus, fled from him. Wherefore he smote them with a great slaughter, so that there were killed of them that day about 8,000 men. This done, Judas turned
Reclaim
aside
everything
to
in the
Masphor,
area.
and after he had assaulted it, he took and slew all the males therein, and received the spoils thereof, and burnt it with fire. From thence went he and took Casphon, Maked, Bosor, and the other cities of the country of Gilead. After these things gathered Timotheus another host, and encamped against
I've got
Rapha
mines.
beyond the brook. So Judas sent men
Alright,
to
I've got
espy
mines.
the host,
That's kind of
brought
cool.
him word, saying, All
Must
the
have something
heathen
that's
that be
deploying
round
them
about us
automatically.
are assembled unto them, even a very great host. He hath also hired the Arabians to help them, and they have pitched their tents beyond the brook, ready to come and fight against thee. Upon this, Judas
So
went
I've got
to meet.
radar, I've done that.
Then Timotheus said
Tactical
unto the captains
missiles?
of his host,
Well, that could be useful.
When Judas and his host come near the brook, if he pass over first unto us, we shall not be able to withstand him, for he will mightily prevail against us. But if he be afraid, and camp beyond the river, we shall go over unto him, and prevail against him. Now when Judas came near the brook, he caused the scribes of the people to remain by the brook, unto whom he gave commandment, saying, Suffer no man to remain in the camp, but let all come to the battle. So he went first over unto them, and all the people after him. Then all the heathen, being discomfited before him, cast away their weapons, and fled unto the temple that was at Karnaim. But they took the
Another
city
7 minutes for that.
and burned the temple with all that were therein. Thus was Karnaim subdued, neither could they stand any longer before Judas. Then Judas gathered together all the Israelites that were in the country of Gilead, from the least unto the greatest,
What's that?
even their wives and their children and their stuff,
Desolators
a
not...
very great host, to the end that they
That
might
is
come into
a
the land
precision
of Judea.
artillery.
Now when
rover.
they came unto Ephron, this was a great city in the
Cool.
way as they should go, very well fortified. They
Yeah,
could not
that's what I
turn
want.
from
That's
it,
what it's doing.
either on the right hand or the left, but must needs pass through the midst of it.
And that's unpowered, it
Then they of
says.
the city shut them out, and stopped up the gates with stones. Whereupon Judas sent unto them in peaceable manner, saying, Let us pass through your land to go into our own country, and none shall do you any hurt. We will only pass through on foot. Howbeit, they would not open unto him. Wherefore Judas commanded a
So,
proclamation
tactical
to be
nuke,
made throughout
seismic
the host,
missile,
that every man
EMP,
should pitch his tent in the
napalms,
place where he was.
low homing missile.
So the soldiers pitched
Cool.
and assaulted the city all
Well,
that
just
day
have one of each
all
and
that
have
night,
it on
till at length
auto
the city
auto
was
build.
delivered into his hands, who then slew all the males with the edge of the sword, and razed the city, and took the spoils thereof, and passed through the city over them that were slain. After this went they over Jordan into the great plain before Bethsan. And Judas gathered together those that came behind, and exhorted the people all the way through, till they came
You've
into the
still
land
not
of
got
Judea.
energy.
So they
It's
went
something
up
to do
Mount
with this.
Zion, joy and gladness,
And hopefully,
where they
once I
offered
bridge
burnt
that,
offerings,
it's connected.
because not one of them was slain until they had returned in peace. Now, what time as Judas and Jonathan were in the land of Gilead, and Simon his brother in Galilee before Ptolemais, Joseph the son of Zacharias and Azarias, captains of the garrisons, heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which they had done. Wherefore they said, Let us also get us a name, and go fight against the
Now
heathen
you've got
that are round
energy,
about
yeah.
us. So when they had given charge unto the garrison that was with them, they went toward Jamnia. Then came
What's your
Gorgias
range?
and his men out of the city to fight against them. And so it was that Joseph and Azarus were put to flight, and pursued unto the borders of Judea. And they were slain that day
Cool.
of the
So if
people of
anything
Israel,
gets in range,
about
it will kill
2,000
them.
men. Thus was there a great overthrow among the children
Ah,
of Israel.
they've got
because they were not
shields.
obedient unto Judas and his brethren, but thought to do some valiant act. Moreover, these men came not of the seed of those by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel. Howbeit the man Judas and his brethren were
Well, that's the
greatly
laser.
renowned in the sight of all Israel, and of all the heathen, wheresoever their name
Big
was heard,
Bertha.
insomuch as the people assembled unto them with joyful acclamations. Afterward went Judas forth with his brethren, and fought against the children of Esau in the land toward the south, where he smote Hebron
And you're
the
not
towns
doing
thereof,
anything at the
and
moment.
pulled down the fortress of it, and burned the towers thereof round about. From
So
thence
get energy
he removed
pylons,
to go
build
to the
something
land
here.
of the Philistines, and passed through Samaria. At that time, certain priests, desirous to show their valor, were slain in battle, for that they went out to fight unadvisedly. So Judas turned to Azotus in the land of the Philistines.
A tachyon
And when he
cannon.
had
I wonder
pulled
what
down
that
their
does.
altars, and burned their carved images with fire, and spoiled their cities,
So if I looked at defense, I should have
to the
some.
land of Judea.
I saw a
Chapter 6.
a shield.
About that time, King Antiochus, traveling through the high countries, heard say that Elimaeus in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned.
And the shield
for
is called
riches,
Aegis
silver,
because, of course, a shield's called
and
Aegis.
that there was in
No
it
other
every
name
rich
for a
eminence,
shield can be
wherein
selected apart
coverings
from
of gold, and
Aegis.
breastplates and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Grecians, had left there. Wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it. But he was not able, because they of the city, having had warning thereof, rose up against him in battle.
Oh,
So he
20
fled,
seconds and we'll have a
departed
big
thence
berth
with great
already.
heaviness, and returned to Babylon. Moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies which went against the land of Judea were put to flight, and that Lysias, who went forth first with a great power, was driven away of the Jews, and
it's
they
not
were
set
made
to hold
strong
fire.
by the armor,
Great.
power, and store of spoils which they had gotten of the armies whom they had destroyed. Also, that they had pulled down the
Blammo.
abomination which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had
Let's have a look
compassed
at the
about
shield.
sanctuary with high walls as before,
And the shield-
his city Bethsura.
Yeah, it's
Now
deployed.
when the king heard these words,
And
he
it's
was
charging up.
astonished
There we go.
and sore moved. Whereupon he laid him down upon his bed and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for.
Use more
And
constructors
there
to
he
spend your
continued
metal.
many days, for his grief was ever more and more, and he made account that he should die. Wherefore he called for all his friends, and said unto them, The sleep is gone from mine eyes, and my heart faileth for very care. And I thought with myself, into what tribulation am I come?
Nice,
and
so
how
I
great
don't
a
have a
flood of
problem with
misery
metal
is it
now.
Wherein now I am. For I was bountiful
Well,
and
especially
beloved
got-
in my power.
Got
But now I remember
strategic
the evils
nuke.
that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy
Plasma
the
artillery
inhabitants
batch
of
power.
Judea without a cause. I perceive, therefore, that for this cause these troubles are come upon me. And behold,
And that's still...
I
Oh,
perish
but 7
of
seconds.
grief in a strange land. Then called he for Philip, one of his friends, who he'd made ruler over all his realm, and gave him the
And
crown
it's set to
and his robe and his
auto-fire.
signet,
Good.
to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus, and nourish him up for the kingdom. So King
What about you?
Antiochus
You done
died
yet?
there, in the 149th year. Now, when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus his son,
Right.
whom he had brought up,
Oh, well, something went boom.
to reign in his stead. His
Boom.
name he called
Kablam.
Jupiter. About this time, they that were in the tower shut up the Israelites round about the sanctuary, and sought always their hurt and the strength of the heathen. Wherefore Judas,
Yep,
purposing
I,
to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. So they came together and besieged them in the 150th year. And he made mounts for shot against them, and other engines. Howbeit certain some that were besieged got forth, unto whom some...
That noise is just egregiously loud.
They went unto the king and said, How long will it be ere thou execute judgment, and avenge our brethren? We have been willing to serve thy father, and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments. For which cause they of our nation besiege the tower, and are alienated from us. Moreover, as
Right, you got
enemies,
launched.
they
That was
spoiled
interesting.
and spoiled our inheritance. Neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. And behold, this day are they besieging the tower at Jerusalem to take it, the sanctuary also, and Bethsura have they fortified. Wherefore, if thou dost not prevent them quickly, they will
Cool.
do greater things than these. Neither
So,
shalt thou be able to rule them.
Yeah,
Now, when the
0k.
king heard this,
I
he
enjoyed
was
that.
angry,
That felt
and
very
gathered
much
together
like
all his friends and the captains of his
Hang
army.
on, just a
and those that
second,
had-
Christopher Glynn. That's the guy who's reading this out, the Maccabees. This felt like a TA mod, and it's good, and I enjoyed it. And oh, we get panpipe music. Oh man. Oh yeah.